We are excited about celebrating 125 years as a church here at Bethany. And part of that celebration is we wanted to just hear some Bethany stories from some Bethany families. And so today we've got some of those Bethany families. We've got Ted and Valerie Mitchener and Scott and Angela Mitchener with us today. Ted and Valerie first. How long have you all been coming to Bethany?
Since 1993, so 30 years.
30 years. So what was it that initially drew you all to Bethany?
I would say the phone book, actually. You guys had an ad in the phone book, and we thought that you were on the south side of town, which is where we were. And it turned out that you weren't, but you did have Sunday school for the different grades of children. And we really wanted our kids to be able to learn about Jesus at their level.
I'd just say on the actual time that we showed up, we were late because we didn't know where it was. But once we showed up, Mark Pike was the one who was at the door and greeted us, took the kids where they needed to go. And since we came in late, the only spots that were available were on the front, and we've been there ever since. But once Valerie and I sat down and started listening to the service, we said, this is home.
For 30 years, you have been a part of Bethany. What would you say are some of those things that have kept you here at Bethany for 30 years?
Biblical teaching.
The people always being able to support us and support our kids, teach our kids as they were growing up. And it's a combined effort to raise kids. So it was great having the teachers that they had and just the support that we had.
Okay, Scott, so you grew up here as a kid. During specifically your middle school and high school years, do you have a few things that you can point back to or look back to and say those were what kept me here at Bethany during those years, where it can be easy to check out?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I think was probably true for my parents as well is that I thought we were able to get involved, and I thought that was something that was important to Bethany, was that kind of going off of the people community aspect is that, hey, we want you to have a part in this as well. But then on top of that, yeah, you have, the solid leaders, I think, that, were in place, that were checking in, that were also keeping me here.
Ted and Valerie, as parents and having kids involved in children's and student ministries, are there things that you look back as your kids were growing up here that you were thankful for that Bethany provided?
Certainly the consistency of teaching. What they're teaching at home was being taught here at the church and being taught at the school that they were at as well. And I think that consistency really helped us feel supported in every aspect.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing I would say is that I feel like I was in all the areas, but here at Bethany, well, I was always constantly being challenged, kind of piggybacking off of that biblical teaching, being in consistency, right? At every place where I was going, whether it was school, home, or here, I was being challenged to think biblically, about things and to take that relationship with Christ seriously.
Okay, Scott and Angela, can you guys talk a little bit about what it is that you all do?
So we are currently missionaries in the Dominican Republic. We have been there for 11 years come May, and we have basically helped to start a bilingual Christian school that really services kids that live in the sugarcane villages. So Haitians who have come over to the Dominican and live there in extreme poverty. Our goal is to give them, a Christian education, and discipleship is the key. We have 18,000 hours with them if they start with us as 3-year-olds and go all the way through to 12th grade. God's been good, and we've just been super blessed to be able to be a part of what He's doing there. So,
Scott, can you talk just a little bit about what influence growing up at Bethany specifically played, and how that factored into getting you to think about missions and be on the mission field and have that be a part of your upbringing here at Bethany?
So I would say a couple of things. I mean, first of all, just having the Christian life modeled so well, and to be, and to be challenged, in my relationship with the Lord early on, and then carried through about what that looked like to flesh that out and to get involved in ministry and those kinds of things. I think those were all the foundational pieces, right? So that when you get to the place where you're now making a decision about what you're going to do for a career, or you're making a decision to say, hey, I think God might be calling me into full-time ministry, those pieces are already there, But then on top of that, I would say, Bethany was always heavily involved in missions in different places, different methods, different ways of doing things, right? There was a Spanish church that was meeting, they were using the building that our school met in, and there was a guy that attended Bethany that I knew that invited me to come and play bass guitar for their band. And the crazy thing about that whole experience is that, you know, I met a guy there that was leading the music at the time who was Dominican. He had gotten a scholarship and come here to Anderson University to study, and so Anderson University asked him to take a missions trip through AU. And, but I'm a high school student, so I'm not supposed to go on those trips. But that guy actually, because I played at that church for a while, they said, hey, we'll make an exception for you so that you can take your band and kind of do like a music service type of trip in the DR. So that was actually my first exposure to the Dominican Republic, was actually through that connection. And truth be told, I never thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be involved in missions. But when I got to the place where the opportunity presented itself, and it felt like God was opening doors, and he was kind of saying, hey, this is something I want you to think about. I feel like I was prepared to then think through that and go, okay, this is actually, a legitimate opportunity. This is something I need to think about. This is something that the Lord's put in my life. And so now let's take those steps, as opposed to it being completely new and kind of otherworldly at that juncture.
Ted and Valerie, now, as we are coming to a place of celebrating 125 years, and we think about the next 125 years, what do you all hope for the future of Bethany?
I hope it continues to be what it has been for the past 125 years. There have obviously been a lot of people that have attended Bethany over the years, and they bring their kids, and I'm sure there's a lot of prayer that was going on back in those days as it is today, and I hope that Bethany continues to be a church where people can come and be discipled and learn and go out into the world and share the love of Jesus.
Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this and sharing just a glimpse, a small picture of your Bethany story with us. And we are very thankful that you have been a part of Bethany up to this point, and are excited and grateful that you guys are continuing to be a part of Bethany. So thank you for sharing your Bethany story with us today.